Hola, mis amigos, y bienvenidos a martes. Why am I talking in Spanish? I don't know. I have no good reason. But anyhow, it's Tuesday. Here we go. Today, we're going to talk about informational text structure. We're going to reread, review, skim the article from yesterday, and then you're going to do a Google form. Okay? That's it. So let's jump right in. First of all, just a reminder, if you want to write this down or come back to this in the video, this shows you that where to find the article in the textbook and in the online textbook. So you're going to need to pull that up either online or on page 395 of your textbook so that you have the article handy. And again, you're going to reread it or at least skim very carefully through it so that you can remind yourself of exactly what it was about so that we can work on this lesson in Google Form today. So first, what we want to talk about today is organizational patterns that authors use for informational pieces like this. Okay. So basically, as an author, you have an option of how you want to organize an informational piece. There's a few different ways that you can do it. You might do things in what's called, where's my little toolbar? Where are you, toolbar? Turn on the laser pointer. Oh, yeah. Okay. The author may present things in what's called a chronological order. So that means a time order, right? So, like if you think of a timeline is chronological order. Things happen in a sequence that makes sense. Okay, so if you're doing something in chronological order, like your timeline doesn't jump all around. It follows, like, in 1862 this happened, and then in 1874 this happened, and then in 18 whatever. It follows a specific order. Or there's one called order of importance. Now here's what's funny. Order of importance isn't exactly what it sounds like, because you would think order of importance would be you would have your most important thing first, and then your second most important thing, and your third most important thing, and your fourth most important, and so on. But that's not how it goes. Usually, with order of importance, you put your most important information at the end. And the reason why is because you want your reader to be left with your strongest point. Okay, your strongest reason why. So if I'm trying to convince you, that chocolate peanut butter ice cream is the best, I'm going to save my strongest point for last. That the combination of delicious sweet chocolate and tangy creamy peanut butter is irresistible, right? That's my best argument, so I'm going to save it till last. That's how order of importance works. Okay. Now, there's a third option. So the first option was chronological, which means time order. The second one was order of importance, where you start with your least most effective point and work all the way up to your most effective point. But there's also this one called descriptive. And descriptive is kind of like a free for all. Okay, so a descriptive pattern allows you a lot of flexibility to present things however you want to. Okay, so if you look at what it says the author presents a variety of kinds of information about the topic. It could be historical background, it could be characteristics, it could be examples, it could be comments from experts, it could be comparisons. Okay, but to give structure to the presentation, the author will usually use subheadings like in this article. This article is done in a descriptive pattern. Now, the key here is that if you are going to write something in a descriptive pattern, you have to use subheadings, because what's going to happen is in a descriptive pattern, you're going to be jumping back and forth. Like you might be jumping back and forth in time, you might be jumping back and forth in topic. And if you don't have a subheading to tell your reader, like, hey, now we're going to talk about soccer, and oh, wait, now we're going to talk about scoring, and oh, wait, now we're going to talk about injuries. Like, if you don't tell your reader with a subheading what's coming up, your story is not going to make any sense. Okay. And that's what this author does. This author writes in a descriptive pattern. So this author uses subheadings to kind of clue us in about what they're talking about. Okay. But just remember, any kind of effective informational writing has to have some kind of a pattern or structure to it. Otherwise, it's just like, I like to call it word vomit, right? It's just like bleh. All these facts just on a piece of paper with no pattern or structure to it. It's not going to make any sense. Sorry for that visual. Okay. So, for example, this, well, let's look at this over here. Okay. So this is what we just talked about a minute ago. How organizational patterns, you could do chronological, you could do order of importance, or you could do descriptive. Well, this one is telling us, okay, this is paragraph 2. This is telling us, how does the author use time order to organize information? So they're already telling us that this is going to be in chronological order. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out how that's true. So it says, some claim sports begin as a form of survival. Prehistoric man ran, jumped, and climbed for his life. Hunters separated themselves by skill, and competition flourished. Wall paintings dating from 1850 BC. Okay, so this should be our starter point, and now we should be going in chronological order. That depict wrestling, dancing, and acrobatics were discovered in an Egyptian tomb at Bani Hassan. The ancient Greeks revolutionized sports by holding the world's first Olympic Games in Olympia in 776 BC. So, yeah, remember, BC, we're counting, I guess it depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to say counting up or counting down, it's the opposite of how we count time. So, this is going in order. But it wasn't until the early 19th century that sports as we know it came into play. Pardon the pun. So, see how that follows chronological order? So, it's dating all the way back to 1850, then 776 BC, and then all the way to the 19th century, which would be the 1800s AD. So that does follow chronological order. Okay, that's how the author chooses to do that. Now, this is going back to her regular descriptive. So, what I want you to notice is that there is a subtitle up here. So, the title of the story is It's Not Just a Game. That's the main title. So we also have these subheadings or subtitles that introduce a section, right? So this one is about forgetting the fun. And basically it's saying like, yeah, in a perfect world, sports would be great and everybody would love sports and everybody would play sports. But that's not the case. Okay. And then it makes the argument about sports. You can have injuries, it can mess with you psychologically, all those kinds of things. Okay. The dangers of competition, so to speak. But what I want you to notice is that by using this subheading, now the author is telling us, wait a minute, I'm about to switch my argument here. So basically, this is like her counterclaim. Okay. But she's showing you that she's making a switch by giving you this subheading so that you know that a change is coming and you know what's going to be covered in this section. Okay. And then the end here, 11, 12, and 13. We're going to be talking about later in the week where we side with this, like if we side on the side that sports are positive or if we side on the side that sports are negative. So you're going to have to kind of be thinking about where you stand on that. But if you think about her point in writing this, her point was really to highlight more of the positives of sports. So this is asking us highlight 3 positive effects of sports when people watch others play them. So let's see. Sports are a form of entertainment. The joy you and your teammates get by working together is the same joy your family, friends, and other spectators get when they watch. Fans experience the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, just like the players on the field. Think of all the applauding and shouting and yelling that happen at sporting events. It's a way for many of us to live vicariously through the players' actions. Sports are also social events, opportunities for strangers to cheer together and debate outcomes. A Saturday morning game is a great way to spend time with family. Sports involve learning too. Fans research players, teams, and the sports themselves. How many fans do you know who are walking encyclopedias of sports trivia? My husband. Anyway, so if we're looking for three positives, I think each paragraph introduces a positive, don't you? I do. So think about that because you're going to need that information going into the Google form. So here is the Google form. Okay, so it's going to go back through what we talked about, organizational patterns, and then it's going to ask you some questions about organizational patterns, which we just really answered together. Okay. Then you're going to have this excerpt from the text, and it's going to ask which groups of people does the author reference and what organizational pattern does the author use in this paragraph. Oh my gosh, we just did that together. So that's what goes there. Then here we see her counterclaim again for getting the fun, and look what it says. What is the subheading that introduces that? And hello, jumping all around. Sorry about that. What is the subheading of this counterclaim? And then the very last part that we just talked about, what are three positive effects of sports when people watch others play them? And again, you're taking that right here from this section. So if you're paying attention to the video, following along, I think this Google form is going to be super duper easy for you to answer. Okay. But if you find yourself having any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and I will be happy to walk you through it. Okie dokie. So that's it. Google form, turn it in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Ah.